It is e-girls ruining my life. What the fuck? Bald like I'm real bad bitch pussy bald like Saitama. I can't wait till he comes back and drops the song and then leaves again. I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
On May 29th, 2012, multiple mysterious packages were delivered simultaneously to political offices and schools thousands of miles apart. When staff at these institutions opened the boxes, they were horrified to discover that each one contained a limb belonging to a human being. Authorities scrambled for answers.
Oh shit, it's by the same people!
Was this a politically motivated attack?
I was like, wait, this guy sounds familiar. I'm an idiot. It's by the same fucking people. I'm a fool.
Horrified to discover that each one contained a limb belonging to a human being. Authorities scrambled for answers. Was this a politically motivated attack? Whose remains were packed into the boxes? Who was the person responsible for all of this? Even though the police had no idea what was going on, they should have. You see, a group of amateur internet detectives had actually been warning the police about the culprit and his plans for months leading up to the murder. But they didn't listen. If they had, perhaps the innocent person who had been killed would still be alive today.
I hope he mentions the people online
2 years before
that like
perfect
helped with the
day,
case
one of the
too.
leading members of the group, Deanna Thompson, was working as a data analyst at a Las Vegas casino. By day, her job was to look out for suspicious patterns of behavior among the many tourists and gamblers who came to take their chances. But by night, she spent much of her time on Facebook, hiding behind the screen name Body Movin', a playful nod to the Beastie Boys song Body Movin'. In December 2010, a video appeared on the internet titled One Boy, Two Kittens. Now, before we dive any further into this extremely sensitive case,
You might have to restart your
it's important
Twitch.
for us
It could
to
be like
highlight
a.
that
It
throughout
might
our
actually be
video,
a Twitch
we will-
issue. Recently, it's been like dog shit. So I do apologize.
A video appeared on the internet
But I can see your
titled,
messages,
"One
don't
Boy,
worry,
Two
if that's what you're
Kittens."
wondering.
Now, before we dive any further into this extremely sensitive case, it's
I
important
rushed
for
like
us to
5
highlight
times.
that throughout
I'm
our
so
video,
sorry.
we will never show or describe the specific contents of the multiple extremely graphic videos related to this case. The people who worked on this script do not wish to force that kind of information on any person watching that has not consented to the mental anguish that comes with it.
Fire script writers, bars, oh my goodness, W.
Extremely graphic videos related to this case. The people who worked on
W,
this script
dude.
do not wish to force that kind of information on any person watching that has not consented to the mental anguish that comes with it. Therefore, we will only give the context that is necessary in order to follow along with the investigation.
Yeah, I mean, they have a
For
fire
example,
team, holy
all you need
shit.
to know about the first video in the
Wow,
case
that's really
and
cool,
the handful
actually.
of photos posted alongside it is that they depicted acts of unthinkable cruelty inflicted on 2 kittens that ultimately led to their deaths. And the only hint of the culprit was a couple of frames that caught his side profile. Within days of the video's emergence, a dedicated Facebook community of internet sleuths
Okay, I made
was
food really
created.
fast, so come
Find
back in.
the Kitten Vacuumer for great justice. A cyber posse, united by outrage and a shared mission
My
to
dad made
identify the
sopita again.
perpetrator
It's so
who
good.
made this video and posted it in the
I
first
like it when he
place.
makes sopita.
Deanna joined immediately, still seething from what she had witnessed. She believed she could use her
my
skills
God.
as a data analyst.
Dude, holy shit, she looks gorgeous. She looks so good with hair like that. In the documentary, she had like I think she had like red hair. Wow, she looks gorgeous with dark hair. Holy shit.
Mission to identify the perpetrator
This
who
looks
made
really
this
good.
video and posted it in the first place.
Sorry,
Deanna
my bad.
joined immediately, still seething from what she had witnessed. She believed she could use her skills as a data analyst to comb through information and help find this supposed psychopath, and she was far from the only one. A Los Angeles man had a similar response, becoming so furious that he also found his way to the group, initially just observing from afar under his real profile. But as he saw members begin to actively exchange clues and leads, he began to think he could make a valuable contribution. He created a separate account as John Green, plucking the name from a Steinbeck novel on his shelf and a green plant nearby, giving him the freedom to dive deep without worrying about it getting to his friends or family. In fact, for the next 18 months, none of John's loved ones even knew he was spending countless hours a week as an amateur online detective. Under their aliases, Deanna and John quickly stood out in the group for their level-headed focus. Deanna liked how John stuck to the facts and didn't let emotions cloud his analysis. They quickly bonded over their shared resolve. They could not and would not let this monster get away with it. The Facebook group became a 24-hour command center where armchair investigators from across the globe shared their unique expertise and theories on this one video. They began dissecting it, frame by frame, posting screen caps, zooming in on every object visible in the kitten killer's room, trying to glean any identifiable detail that might lead them somewhere. One of the first clues was an electrical outlet on the wall, briefly shown in the video. Because different countries have different shaped sockets, this was a critical clue. They noticed the outlet had 2 vertical slots, the plug type used in North America, as opposed to the round holes of a European plug. This suggested the killer was likely in North America, but they couldn't rule out Central America, northern countries of South America, or even Japan and Taiwan, since they also use that kind of plug. Honestly, it may not feel like they narrowed it down too much, but it did remove most countries from the discussion. The pattern on the bed's comforter,
it's still on the same
color
planet,
of the
so
walls, these were the next items of focus.
I would've been no
For
fucking
example,
help, holy
the group
shit.
scoured the internet to determine if the same bed cover was sold by a particular retailer, or if the unique bright yellow-green wall color could be from a known apartment chain's paint scheme. But that was a dead end. The real breakthrough was a distinctive yellow vacuum cleaner. It wasn't a common model one sees every day. The group quickly suspected it might be a regional exclusive. Deanna zeroed in on it, and even found an online forum for vacuum enthusiasts, yes, those exist, to identify the exact make and model. If they could figure out
That's
where
all
that
good,
model
bug
was
girl.
sold,
You take care.
it might narrow down the kitten killer's geographical region. Deanna posted the model on the forum and immediately got it identified as the Kenmore canister cleaner, specifically the Aspiradora model, only sold in North America. Every detail was cataloged and cross-referenced. John even went so far as to create a diagram of the room, mapping out the furniture layout and objects, so group members could discuss and theorize with a common reference. With the visuals taken care of, they began listening. Was there music playing faintly? Traffic noise outside? The hum of an appliance? They amplified the audio, looking for any hint of a language or local sound. Maybe a TV in another room turned to a local station. One member thought they heard a few notes of a song, which sent others on a search to identify it. But all John found was a kind of vaguely Russian-sounding voice. Individually, none of these clues would catch a killer. In fact, many of them, like the Russian voice, would turn out to be misleading or just entirely irrelevant. But together, a picture began to emerge. The vacuum and wall socket pointed to North America. Other clues hinted at a cold climate, like what looked like a winter coat hanging on a chair. Before they could pursue the path further, a Facebook post hit the group that sent the investigation in a very different direction and an entirely separate part of the world. A user with the name Jamsy Cramsalot in his posted a video to his personal page, depicting another form of torturous death inflicted on a kitten. To the group, his profile picture looked similar to the little they had been able to see of the other guy in the vacuum video, and the content was obviously extremely similar, leading them to believe this could very well be their guy. One of the group's members, deciding they had nothing to lose, sent a DM to Jamsy, asking him directly if he was the guy behind the original vacuum video. But nobody expected he would confess so quickly. Apparently surprised that the group would just ask him so brazenly, Jamsy sent a message saying, "Yes, I kill kittens, lol, and there's nothing you can do about it." To the group, this was an insane turn of events. With just one message, they seemed to have gotten their guy. The group's admin immediately made the announcement to the community, boosting morale more than any discovery had so far. But they still had a problem. Nobody knew where this guy was or his real name, but a little digging through Jamsy's friends list, and it became clear that this guy wasn't anywhere close. He was in Africa, specifically Namibia. It made no sense, but nobody cared. Nobody except Deanna and John, the only 2 members who were not celebrating. Everything in the original video pointed to North America. If they were right, then it meant this lead was sending them in the complete opposite direction. Something was off. When Deanna and John did a reverse image search of Jamsy's profile picture, they found that it was actually an image of an adult film actor, almost definitely not the African man behind the account. But when they raised their concerns, the community refused to listen. They were dead set on their belief that they had finally identified the monster eluding them for so long, and now it was time for justice. The community managed to track down the identity of the real man behind the Jamsy account.
Oh no.
For reasons that will become obvious soon, we're not going to name him. But some people on the Facebook group did. They began sharing this person's personal information across social media platforms, publicly shaming him as the sicko who was hurting cats for his own sadistic pleasure. The only problem, of course, is that this man was not the guy behind the disgusting photos.
Oh my god.
Pleasure. The only problem, of course, is that this man was not the guy behind the disgusting photos and videos. He had just been sharing them. In fact, their target was just a man dealing with depression, being edgy online to give himself a thrill and a reason to
okay, so he was just trolling. What an asshole, not gonna lie.
behind the disgusting photos and videos. He had just been sharing them. In fact, their target was just a man dealing with depression, being edgy online to give himself a thrill and a reason to get up in the morning. Overnight, his most personal details have been exposed all over the internet, with
Wow.
angry strangers doxing him as a psychopath and demanding justice for crimes he had never committed. Death threats followed, reinforcing his own negative self-worth until he was no longer able to cope with the relentless harassment and public humiliation. When he later died by his own hand, the Facebook group had claimed its first victim, an innocent man.
Damn.
The group's membership fractured after the incident, with
Damn.
many
I remember this too in the documentary. It was like a whole thing. Like, it was insane. It was a whole thing. And then I think the group like disbanded for a while. Like, it was like radio silent because of everything that happened. They were like, dude, we just like, what the fuck? But the funniest part is the two people that we had just saw that were like, I guess like a part of it, like John Green and the other lady. I think in the documentary they were like, this was like a little too easy. They were just more of like, this is too easy. Are we sure this is the guy? You know what I mean? Like, they were like really confused. But everybody else in the group was like jumping on it really fucking fast, being like, no, this is the guy. This is the guy. And oh, also the case got so, or not the case, but like this shit got so popular that so many people joined the group and they couldn't tell like what was happening, and everyone was just accusing everybody. So it was so bad, dude. I remember watching a documentary like, holy fuck.
Named its first victim, an innocent man. The group's membership fractured after the incident, with many leaving in horror at what their investigation had accomplished.
Yeah.
They hadn't brought a killer to justice. If anything, they had become killers themselves. Their target was still out there, likely preparing to escalate his crimes. The question for those who remained in the group was whether they could learn from their mistakes before another innocent person lost their lives. But then came a critical bit of intel, sent through a DM by a person using the screen name Beverly Kent. Beverly announced that they knew the identity of the real kitten killer and, just to prove it, offered up what they claimed was his name. One quick Google search, and Deanna and John instantly recognized the shape of his face. That familiar, memorable side profile from the original video. They had found him, but we won't be showing his face or speaking his name, again for reasons that will become clear soon. Even though they were confident that this guy was the kitten killer, Deanna and John were cautious. Having already witnessed the devastating consequences of getting it wrong, they were determined not to repeat the same mistake. After all, they had no way of knowing whether this tip was genuine or another false lead that could destroy another innocent life. They would need concrete proof before taking any action. Their suspect had been flitting around the internet under various fake names. He had a peculiar online footprint, involving dozens of social media profiles, each with different aliases, but all sharing photos of the same vain, wannabe model-type looking man. All his profiles were as bizarre as one another, full of posts about this man's supposed modeling and acting. There were even fan pages dedicated to him as if he had a personal army of admirers. But it soon became clear that all of these accounts were owned by the same person. Their suspect was using all of these fake puppet accounts to fabricate an entire parallel existence where he was a star. Which is exactly the kind of narcissism you might expect from someone who'd commit horrific crimes on camera for attention. But there was a pretty obvious question behind all of this that still didn't have an answer. Why would this anonymous source just offer up this information? How did they know? Could it be that just maybe Beverly Kent was actually the suspect himself, using a puppet account to get more attention? That would mean that their target was not only aware of the group of amateur detectives and their investigation, but was playing with them. They analyzed every photo of the suspect available online for hidden metadata or location clues, and they discovered that many of his uploaded photos contained embedded information about the make of the camera, a hot pink Panasonic DMCF3. This matched exactly with the data on the photos of the kitten killings. They were taken with the same camera. This was enough for them to believe that their suspect and the kitten killer had to be the same person. The tip was accurate. John went deeper, picking apart the metadata in the killer's pictures of himself. Photos taken on digital cameras often contain EXIF data of the date, time, and coordinates of the location in which they were taken. Using that information, John was able to pinpoint multiple photos to a specific location in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. But then, on the killer's YouTube page, John found a video full of pictures of himself. One photo featured him standing in front of some rock steps, a photo neither he nor Deanna had ever seen before. They could tell from the sprouting of leaves on trees that this was a recent photo, but in the background, they noticed a unique style of traffic light. A horizontal arrangement in black, not vertical and yellow like the lights in Toronto.
Oh shit.
John went hunting on Google Street View, virtually walking through cities that use those lights. It was unbelievably tedious, But John was relentless, convinced his effort would pay off. And it did. He and Deanna were scouring the virtual streets of Montreal in the Canadian province of Quebec, when, purely through chance, they stumbled on a building that looked identical to the one in the video. The stairs were the same, the foliage in the same place. He had taken a photo outside McGill University in downtown Montreal, an area they had never even considered. So now they had a general idea of where the cat killer was, or at least had been, and they had a name. This was more than they'd ever hoped to achieve on their own. Now it was time to hand it over to the professionals, or so they hoped. When Deanna and John attempted to take their information to the Toronto police, they got no response.
Oof.
In 2011, the concept of an internet killer felt too abstract to be anything to worry about. To the authorities, it was just a cat abuse case, somewhere in cyberspace. Horrifying, yes, but not an immediate threat to human life. The group members vehemently disagreed.
Not an immediate threat to human life. Isn't like killing animals in a sense of like abuse, you know what I mean, in a form of abuse. Isn't that a crime? I'm a little confused. Is that not actually a crime? Am I just dumb? Have I like been going my whole life thinking it was a crime? Could have sworn it's a crime. I'd slap those cops. Animal abuse is a crime. What? Why is that like not taken seriously? Yeah, they start with small animals, then into humans. That's what I'm saying. Like, what the fuck? Oh, it's just cat abuse. Bro, what are you talking about? What? They're killing cats. Hello? What do you mean? That should be looked into, is it not? What the fuck? They're like, yeah, hit us up when a real crime happens. Oh shit, he killed a human? No way. No way. Okay, now we'll lock in. And it's like, huh? What? Maybe it's because it's Canada. Wait, what does it have to do with anything? Did Canada have an animal issue or?
Just a cat abuse case, somewhere in cyberspace.
Usually how police
yes,
work, yeah. That's low-key so dumb,
life.
dude.
The group members vehemently disagreed. It was just step one, and they were right. When the next video dropped, it was, at its core, the same. A kitten's life was ended on camera, but a different method was used, which the group found even more troubling than the first. But before they could even think of how to respond, a second video was dropped the same day, featuring yet another method of cruelty. The uploader's username was Leslie Ann Downey, the name of a real-life victim of a notorious British serial killer couple. This was the first inkling the group had that the kitten killer idolized serial killers, another giant red flag that this would inevitably escalate to humans. The video managed to go viral, earning the attention of a British journalist, who wrote about it for The Sun and got a message shortly after. It was the same one that John and Deanna had received earlier. The person you're looking for is currently in London, and his name is redacted. The person on the other end was untraceable, a random sock puppet account operated by someone
My medicine
unknown.
is like hitting me really badly.
The journalist went to the location that was given.
I don't know if you guys can hear it, but I'm trying to like lock in, but I feel like I'm talking slower.
Sock puppet account operated by someone unknown. But the journalist went to the location that was given, meeting someone who looked exactly like the person John and Deanna and the other sleuths believed was the killer. He insisted that he was not the man they were looking for, just another innocent guy being hounded by the group. When the journalist went home, he got another email from username John Kilbride, another real-life victim of those notorious British killers. It's so fun watching people work so hard gathering all the evidence and then not being able to name me or catch me. You see, I always win. I always hold the trump card, and I will continue to make more movies. Next time you hear from me, it will be in a movie I'm producing that will have some humans, not just insert vulgar word related to cats. It's never been proven, but it seems reasonable to assume that all of these accounts, like Barbara Kent, were the killer himself. He had been watching them, obviously, but now he wanted to really torment them, to give himself to them on a silver platter and then outsmart them, just like in the movie Catch Me If You Can, and you'll understand more of why that movie is being referenced soon. One day, Deanna logged into Facebook to find a private message waiting for her. It was a quote, of all things, from the philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche. Whoever fights monsters should see to it that in the process he does not become a monster, and if you gaze long enough into an abyss, the abyss will gaze back at you. The sender's identity was anonymous, another sock puppet account, but Deanna took it as a warning. She believed it was the kitten killer, that he was hiding in their group, posing as a member, observing every move they made towards trying to find him, and he was mocking her to her face, saying, "I see you looking for me. Be careful, or you'll end up like me." She had spent countless hours staring into the darkest abyss of the internet, trying to track a monster. Was she, in some abstract way, becoming monstrous herself by engaging in this cat-and-mouse game? Was
Aww.
she feeding his ego, giving him what he wanted? And did that make her a bad person?
Aww.
The quote rattled her deeply, forcing her to confront those uncomfortable questions.
That
It
sucks.
was exactly what the sender intended, to get deeper into her head. John was feeling the same way. He had thrown himself fully into the chase, confident and excited at first. But as the investigation wore on, the thrill of tracking clues was now mixed with dread. After the tragedy of Jamsey's death, and now the realization that their killer was toying with them,
Hey, candy.
it was becoming evident that this was all
Guys,
just
my
a sick
candy
game
comes
to
in
him,
soon.
and perhaps they were all playing along just like he wanted. Their target was proving to be more cunning and vindictive than they anticipated, and now that he knew an international group of amateur detectives was trying to catch him, this killer seemed more excited and invested in his crimes than ever. The kitten killer, with his many alias accounts, even started posting hints and red herrings online, deliberate dead ends that went nowhere. On his YouTube channel, he had liked a video that was simply the opening credits to the movie Catch Me If You Can, a cat and mouse tale of a dogged detective and a wily criminal who is always 3 steps ahead. John and Deanna found it on his profile and recognized it as a deliberate taunt. The brazenness was infuriating. They had positioned themselves as the heroes, and in response,
I'm surprised that like sorry, I like closed my eyes. I'm just surprised that like the police hasn't gotten involved, you know what I mean? Because I'm sure like this was like all over the internet around this time. I don't remember, you know what I mean? I don't remember much of the documentary. But like I'm sure this was like all over the internet times. And I'm just surprised that the police are just like, oh well, this is okay. You know what I mean? It's just like when people do things wrong. I mean, fuck, dude. For example, like the singer David, when the body was found like in his trunk of the car, and I saw TikTok detectives. I was like, holy fuck, dude. These people came out of the woodworks. Holy shit. They came out of nowhere. And they were working their ass off, like providing so much evidence and clips and everything. And it finally took so long for the officers to be like, it took like months later. It took months later for them to like finally identify that he wasn't a suspect. Months later, chat, when the case was already being done. I was like, holy shit. I was like, I could have sworn TikTok had already solved this shit. Like, what the fuck? Like, not to, you know, give them a pat on the back or anything, but I could have sworn like all of like the evidence is right on TikTok. Hello? How is it taking them so long to like actually provide something? Back then, police didn't take this shit seriously. Police sometimes brush off when people bring stuff like that forward, especially if it's their own detective work and only on animals. Yeah, but that was because he's famous. Yeah, but they still brushed it off. You know what I mean? Like, he wasn't a suspect, and then he was a suspect, and then he wasn't officially. You know what I mean? And then his manager became a suspect. I was like, I could have sworn TikTok announced this like months ago that his manager might have been a suspect. You know what I mean?
Deanna found it on his profile and recognized it as a deliberate taunt. The brazenness was infuriating. They had positioned themselves as the heroes, and in response, he was relishing at the opportunity of playing the villain. John, Deanna, and their group were beginning to suspect that he would soon escalate from cats
I don't want to
to
risk
human
false
victims.
evidence
And if
despite
he
the
managed to
clues sort of
identify them,
linking in.
it wasn't
Yeah,
impossible
could be it
that they
too.
would be his first choice. While that thought was still fresh in her mind, Deanna received a link to a video one afternoon. This was nothing like the others.
Holy shit.
It wasn't on YouTube.
Mm.
It was sent directly to her private inbox. She clicked it warily. The footage was shaky, handheld. She quickly began to recognize what she was looking at. It showed the interior of a Las Vegas casino, her casino, the very place she went to work every day. The camera glided through a hallway near the slot machines, a path she walked during every shift. It was as if someone had walked into her workplace with a camera to send her a message. I can find you too.
Oh shit.
There's a well-known theory in criminal psychology called the graduation hypothesis. The idea is that people who are cruel to animals in their youth condition themselves, purposely or not, to be desensitized to violence, allowing them to graduate to humans once they get bored with harming animals. It's the reason many serial killers and violent criminals start with animals. It's practically an early alarm bell. They begin targeting animals because they're vulnerable, easy to access, and easy to get away
I can
with.
imagine.
Since the 1970s, the FBI has considered it a potential indicator of future violence, often using it to profile serial killers. Deanna, John, and others all knew this in their bones. They had voiced it repeatedly in the group. Today it's cats. Tomorrow it could be a person. They had already tried to convey
They
this
said
to
that
the
so many
Toronto
times.
authorities, but have been dismissed almost instantly.
That's
Now,
crazy.
Deanna was in a very dangerous situation. The killer she was chasing had turned his attention to her. How he obtained that footage, how he discovered Deanna's true identity, remains unknown to this day. Had the killer actually traveled to Vegas and stalked her, or did he have an associate record it? Either way, it was an unmistakable intimidation tactic. Their fears were now becoming a reality. The danger had crossed into real life. Yet Deanna and John refused to abandon the chase, too convinced that this was an important cause. But the glaring problem with their vigilante group had always been present. The kitten killer clearly craved an audience. Everything he did was designed to keep eyes on him.
So that classmate who ripped the frog's legs was assigned Annie. I just don't like it when people like harm animals. You know what I mean? For like the fun of it. I just don't like it. I don't, even if like the animal's already dead, I just don't like it.
Everything
I got
he
jumped
did
on my
was
way over
designed
there.
to keep eyes on him.
Just
By
kidding.
pursuing him so passionately
I was trying to clean up
publicly,
something.
were they giving him exactly what he wanted? Were they, in some weird way, his audience and fellow performers? This is where Deanna's dilemma really started to affect her. The Nietzsche quote was already a tough pill to swallow, but now her morals were being tested. They didn't want to feed his ego, but how could they just stop when he was still out there, hurting animals, when he was possibly about to escalate to something far, far worse? If they did nothing, innocent people could be killed, but if she continued the chase, it might motivate him to make more videos. Some argued that any attention was bad, that perhaps they should stop posting about him publicly and just turn over what they had to the police, let them deal with it. Others truly believed that without their continued efforts, he'd never be caught. Law enforcement had done nothing about the videos that had been uploaded. When John continued to press Toronto authorities, the reply was polite, but boiled down to, there's not much to be done unless he's in our jurisdiction, committing a crime. John also tried contacting police in Montreal since, thanks to his previous work, that was likely the new city the suspect had moved to. But there, the wall of apathy was even higher. Montreal authorities didn't seem to take a tip from random internet users seriously, or perhaps they were simply too busy. Or maybe they simply thought that the killing of innocent kittens was not a worthy enough crime for an investigation. It really depends on who you ask. But Deanna later recalled feeling ignored and dismissed by the police.
Wow.
It was excruciatingly frustrating. The warning signs were all there in flashing neon. This individual was already a dangerous criminal, and the pattern of many violent offenders suggested he could do worse.
They did
The
not
group
give a
knew that
fuck.
this guy
That
was looking for
sucks, dude.
notoriety, and once the novelty of killing cats went away, what would he do next? So here they were. They had essentially identified a murderer in the making, and yet they were powerless to actually stop him. The authorities wouldn't act. Meanwhile, the kitten killer was ominously quiet.
Dude, I can't imagine being in that kind of like situation. Imagine finding the killer, having the name and everything, having evidence of them like hurting animals, but not being taken seriously. You know what I mean? And it's like, damn, dude.
After taunting them for a while, he seemed to be lying low, which left everyone very, very uncomfortable. In the Facebook group, a few voices suggested maybe he'd gotten scared and wouldn't escalate after all. Deanna wanted to believe that. Perhaps their very presence online and the pressure they'd applied had saved lives by scaring the suspect into just giving up.
Probably not.
If only that were true.
Damn.
In late May 2012, whispers began spreading on obscure internet forums about a new video, supposedly titled, "One Lunatic, One Ice Pick." John, who had been monitoring these depraved boards for any sign of life from their target, got a private message, tipping him off to what was going on, and he instantly knew who was behind this. This video's title echoed the format of the kitten video's title with the same grim, jokey cadence. John told the group what was going on, informing everyone that the inevitable had finally happened. Several hundred group members somehow managed to force themselves to watch it to confirm if it was their suspect. The video had the same style, the same twisted glee in its own depravity, and the song playing in the background that the killer had used in his personal YouTube videos. It was him. But this time, exactly as the group had predicted, his victim was human. When news of the murder hit the mainstream, the world seemed to suddenly wake up to the horror that Deanna, John, and the whole online community had been shouting about for years. The victim's body parts began turning up across Canada, mailed in packages to political offices and schools in exactly the kind of headline-grabbing spectacle the killer had always craved. For Deanna and John, the news was like a punch to the gut. All their fears had come true in the worst way imaginable, and they hadn't been able to stop it. Deanna found herself racked with guilt, wondering if their quest for justice had done more harm than good. Was there a chance that their pursuit had somehow egged him on? Did they do too much? Meanwhile, John's regrets had a different focus. Could we have done more? John reached out to authorities in Toronto again, who verified that the group's suspect had lived the address John provided, confirming that the sleuth's detective work was accurate, but that he had apparently moved on to another city. The group already knew that city was Montreal. They were just too late. When the name and face of the killer flooded the news, the Facebook group fell into a—
Wait, they knew the city was Montreal, the group, right? The fucking Facebook group, right? It was the police that took too long, not the fucking people. It was the fucking police. Bye, right? You take care. Have a good night. Good night. Good night.
That he had apparently
It was
moved
the
on to another
fucking
city. The group
police.
already knew that city
What?
was Montreal. They were just too late.
Aw.
When the name and face of the
I
killer—
feel bad for them, bro. I feel bad for that group. Holy shit, dude. Because they were like, damn, we took too long. It's like, no, it wasn't you guys. It was the fucking police not taking you guys seriously. Holy shit. Oh my god. We police force didn't uncover any of the evidence ourselves, so we don't want to do anything. Yeah, dude. Ugh.
The group already knew that city was Montreal. They were just too late. When the name and face of the killer flooded the news, the Facebook group fell into a somber silence. They had known of this sorry excuse for a human being long before the rest of the world, yet now he was on every channel, exactly how he had always wanted. The group members exchanged messages, expressing sadness and rage. Some were angry at the police for not heeding their tips. Others directed their anger inward, feeling that in trying to avoid glorifying him earlier, perhaps they hadn't sounded the alarm loud enough. It was a lose-lose situation, honestly. If they had plastered his identity publicly, maybe this could have been avoided. Maybe the killer would have been arrested sooner, or maybe not. Would anybody else have even cared when it was just cats? It seemed to them that nobody wanted to do anything until a human life was already taken. There's no way to know how a different approach might have changed the outcome. That uncertainty is its own kind of torture for those who try to stop it. For the police, the focus was on trying to make sense of who was involved. Deanna and John had already informed them of the identity of the killer, but identifying the victim was an incredible challenge. Given the condition of his body, they had no real identifying features to go off of, no way of identifying who this man was. The investigation led authorities to analyze the security footage of the Montreal apartment building where the janitor, Michael Nadeau, first found partial remains of the victim in a suitcase by a dumpster. After scouring through the footage from days before the suitcase was found, the police saw two young men, late 20s, entering the building. One had a striking resemblance to the man that the internet sleuths had claimed was the killer. The other appeared to be a young Asian man in his 30s. Looking through the missing persons reports, there was only one Asian man reported missing around the time of the murder. His name was Jun Lin. Less than 24 hours after Jun Lin was identified, the video of his murder had spread across multiple platforms, despite police's best efforts to remove it. Meanwhile, the media had a field day with the story. Sensationalized headlines like "The Butcher of Montreal" began to spread worldwide, making Jun Lin's killer famous for all the—
I hate the news. Are we fucking for real? I'm gonna blow up the earth. I'm just gonna do it. I'm just gonna blow up the fucking earth, man.
It's like "The Butcher of Montreal" began to spread worldwide, making
Oh
Jun
my
Lin's
God.
killer famous for all the wrong reasons.
They always
Police in
make it worse. Like, I sound like I hate the woke when I say that. I sound like I hate the woke when I say that. But, like, the news does not help, bro. They don't fucking help with shit, bro. They actually don't. Holy fuck. They make shit so much worse. The butcher killer. It's like, what the fuck? Why did you guys give him a name? Why did you guys do that? You guys are fucking freaks. Hello? You hate everything, though. Yeah, you're right.
At a field day with the story. Sensationalized headlines like "The
Wow.
Butcher of Montreal" began to spread worldwide, making Jun Lin's killer famous for all the wrong reasons. Police in Montreal and beyond launched an international manhunt, but it was
They don't
too
care
late
about
for
people.
Jun Lin,
They only care about the
and too
ratings
late
of their
to prevent
shows.
the killer from attaining the
Blow
infamy
up the
he
earth,
so
dude.
desperately sought. On June 4th, 2012, an international arrest warrant was issued for Jun Lin's killer, placing law enforcement agencies in 190 countries on high alert. But even as police agencies mobilized, the killer was already implementing his escape plan. He had fled Montreal for Paris just one day after the murder to ensure he was always one step ahead. Everything he had done up to this point, from the videos to sending the remains to schools and political parties, was not motivated by anything but a desire to generate attention. He had orchestrated the entire story to have all the most lurid, sensationalized elements that guarantee clicks and headlines.
Wow.
To the media, it was the perfect true crime story. They couldn't resist giving him exactly what he wanted, and so they ran with it.
Somebody was patting my head.
Hard. Television networks began broadcasting disgustingly detailed accounts of his crimes, often including descriptions of the murder video and speculation about his psychological motivations. Rather than focusing on the victim or their investigation at hand, media coverage centered almost entirely on the killer himself.
Bro, just take me to Saturn. I'm going to Saturn, bro. I don't want to be here anymore. Like, what? These are the same fucking people I'm walking the earth with? Holy shit. Like, what? I'm going to Saturn, bro.
Of the murder video and speculation about his psychological motivations. Rather than focusing on the victim or their investigation at hand, media coverage centered almost entirely on the killer himself, which leads us to a massive problem within our society. Research in criminology and psychology has consistently demonstrated that detailed media coverage of killers and their violent crimes...
How I managed to finish my dinner while watching is beyond me. Hi, I've been lurking this entire time because I was eating. Oh my god, I'm so sorry that this is the stream that you lurked on. I'm so sorry. I am so sorry. I hope dinner was good though. I do apologize.
Consistently demonstrated that detailed media coverage... Research in criminology and psychology has consistently demonstrated that detailed media coverage of killers and their violent crimes can inspire copycat incidents. For example,
it can inspire copycat incidents, but it also like gives like the killers that haven't been caught yet, by the way. It also gives the killers that have not been caught yet a sense of high. It gives them like a really insane high. I don't know much about killers, okay? But I do know a lot of whatever the fuck it is, that they get a sense of high when being broadcast, that their killings and stuff like that is being broadcast to the world. It's like, guys, look at my work type shit, you know what I mean? It's really weird. It's so fucking weird. And I hate that the news and media does that. Like, it gives them the attention that they oh so crave, rather than just actually paying attention to the victims. You know what I mean? Same video, the victims evolved to people, dude.
There are killers and their violent crimes can inspire copycat incidents.
Like, I was like so upset like with the whole David shit, like the Celeste situation. Because if you looked at the like the news coverage of everything, they were like Celeste found in David's car. The David, they were only referencing the artist, and I was like, hey guys, actually. Don't want to alarm you, but TikTok seems to have a lot more evidence than you guys are letting on. So maybe provide the fucking evidence. Provide the fucking evidence. Please stop. Stop. Like, I get that this is like a popular person, but like, there's more evidence than just the fucking singer. And you know what I mean? Like, why are we focused on him? We should be focusing on the victim and the evidence that people have provided online. Like, what is going on? It might be false evidence, but maybe, like, fucking take a look into that once in a while. Sorry, I think I felt like a blood vessel pop.
Research in criminology and psychology has consistently demonstrated that
Breathe,
detailed
Annie.
media coverage of killers and their violent crimes can inspire copycat incidents. For example, there are killers who idolize the Columbine shooters, not because of what they did or the way they did it, but because of the notoriety and attention they got from it. These people are looking for fame and attention, and the media is telling them that these depraved acts of violence are the quickest way to get it. This phenomenon is known as the media contagion effect, and it's been heavily documented in tragic cases. When media coverage
I can't be a psychologist, bro. Now that I think about it, I can't do that. I'm gonna need therapy for that shit.
It can inadvertently provide inspiration to others who may be contemplating similar acts. The victims are almost always forgotten, but the killers go into the history books. Think about this. Do you know the names of the victims of Jack the Ripper, the Zodiac Killer, Ted Bundy? Perhaps?
No.
Perhaps not.
And I hate that they like given them these names. You know what I mean? I haven't even heard any of these people before. What the fuck is a Zodiac Killer? What is that? What? Who's? I'm so tired of media, bro.
But the killers go.
They give them names like they're a fucking urban legend. You know what I mean? Motherfuckers make them, media make them sound, they make them sound like a fucking creepypasta. Holy shit. They make them sound like a creepypasta. You know what I mean? These are like creepypasta names. You didn't know? No, I don't know. No. I don't know who the Zodiac Killer is. That doesn't even sound real. But it's the fact that, like, it is real. And they just gave him that name. Like, hello? My frustration is at an all-time peak. Very widely known killers. I only know of like Ted Bundy, and that's it. You know what I mean? That's like the only one I know. But I watched like a documentary. I watched a documentary about him. Zodiac is one of the most infamous killers that was never caught. I think a couple years ago, they finally had a suspect after literal decades of the event. Decades! Decades! Let me guess. Was there evidence online? Was there, like, any evidence online? Was there, like, detectives online? Zodiac Killer was in the 70s, I think. Oh. What the fuck? He was in the 70s. It's 2025 now. 2026, sorry. I forget the new year. It's 2026 now. Alright, how many years is that? 70. Let me count. 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 70. Never mind. I give up. 50 years? Zodiac Killers is who they use as an inspiration for Riddler in Twilight Batman movie. Riddler? Really? What the fuck? They only recently named who Jack the Ripper was. These sound like creepypastas. These sound like creepypastas, bro. These don't sound real. Do you see how, like, stupid this is? Do you see how stupid it is for them to give him a fucking nickname? Last year to figure out who it was. These sound like... Sorry, I'm like itchy because I'm like so fucking annoyed. Oh my god. Oh yeah, that's something I found out about me. Whenever I get like so annoyed and frustrated, I get like all itchy. Like my blood feels like it's like itching on the inside. That's something I found out recently. I'm like super itchy. Yeah, these sound like creepypastas. And I know that's like a real case, but like, do you realize like how stupid it sounds? You know what I mean? Another character. Jeff the Killer. Jane the Killer. Vicky Toby. Clockwork. Bloody Painter. Nina the Killer. Homicidal Lou. Do you realize? And then, like, dude, if I threw Jack the Ripper into the fucking, you know what I mean? I would have been like, oh, that's a creepypasta, you know what I mean? Most of the killer names are given before they have their actual names during the investigation purely based on how they do their acts. That's so fucking stupid. Oh my god, dude. We are doomed. No, we've been doomed. It's just getting worse and worse. Please take me to Saturn. Please. Please take me to Saturn, bro. I don't want to be here anymore with these dummies. Oh my god, dude. Always done by media and makes the public freak out more. What is that? Isn't that like a thing? This is like, oh wait, that was like an episode on fucking Inside Job. You're more doomed on Saturn because it's a poisonous gas planet. Well, at least I'm dying slowly, bro, and peacefully. Not with the rest of the world. Not with the rest of the fucking planet on Earth, dude. Yeah, most investigations try their best to not make things go public to avoid public panic. I hate media, bro. I fucking hate it. Holy shit. I'm like, I'm like actually itchy, dude. Oh my god.
The history books. Think about this. Do you know the names of the victims of Jack the Ripper, the Zodiac Killer, Ted Bundy? Perhaps, perhaps not. But you definitely know them, because the narrative is built around them. Which is why anyone who reports on these events has a responsibility to change the way these stories are told. After the 2012 Aurora movie theater shooting, a no-notoriety movement emerged. People had noticed the same deadly trend, how, even in death, each shooter appeared to motivate a new crop of mass shooters who wanted that same infamy. So the parents of the deceased, along with the police, began urging the media, do not turn these criminals into celebrities. But to this day, the media at large refuses to heed their warning.
Whoa,
The No
okay.
Notoriety campaign implores journalists to focus on victims and facts, and stop splashing killers' names and faces everywhere gratuitously. Loren Coleman, a researcher, wrote in his book The Copycat Effect that in modern times, we should treat coverage of murderers the way we eventually learned to handle coverage of individuals who terminate their own lives, carefully and with restraint. For instance, reporting guidelines advise not romanticizing the act or giving explicit details to avoid inspiring copycats. Coleman suggested that we should also not be giving serial killers the lurid, detailed coverage they seek, nor publishing their self-serving manifestos or dramatic stage names insofar as it is possible. Not everyone in the media agrees with withholding names or details, obviously. Some people have argued that the public's
Who's
right
Bloody
to know
Painter?
trumps the risk of copycats,
I don't
believing
know.
that it's a slippery slope.
I was reading
When
the
you break
names.
it down, it's a balancing act, informing the public without making icons out of the worst that
I was
humanity
reading
has to
the names
offer.
that it showed.
In this story, it's plainly evident what the killer wanted, and tragically, he got it. But must this and other videos continue to feed his ego and, in doing so, promise the same reward to potential future killers? John and Deanna came to understand this crucial difference.
Yeah. Okay. Be careful then. Scared me. I was like locked in watching. Oh my god. I'm more like locked in watching scared
Reward to
me.
potential future killers. John and Deanna came to understand this crucial difference. During their chase, they often referred to the suspect not by name, but as
She
or
thought
even by
she was
impersonal
about to get
nicknames like
murdered.
Vacuum Guy. It was a subtle way to strip him of the notoriety he craved. They wanted to catch him, yes, but they didn't want to make him famous. As it turns out, they had no hand in that. The media decided to do it anyway. This is why, in recounting their investigation, we have tried our best not to shine a spotlight on Junlin's killer. His identity is widely known at this point, of course, but indulging in the spectacle of his persona serves no constructive purpose here for any of us. What he did, the person he wanted to become, is morally abhorrent, and we're not going to indulge any of that. There is, however, one silver lining from him getting the fame he wanted. When your face is everywhere, you have nowhere to hide. On June 4th, 2012, after a week-long international manhunt, Junlin's killer was captured at an internet cafe in Berlin in perhaps the most pathetically poetic way possible. He had foolishly and predictably been reading news coverage about himself when a cafe employee recognized his face from newspaper photographs.
Oh
German
shit.
police officers, who happened to be conducting a routine patrol nearby, arrested him on the spot. Even while on the run, his cripplingly large ego couldn't resist the allure of his own infamy. When police closed in to arrest him, he initially denied his own identity, but apparently it took little to no persuading from the police before he admitted to what he had done and offered officers a simple, "You got me." The arrest brought the manhunt to an end, but it also marked the beginning of a new phase in the case. The killer had achieved his goal of worldwide notoriety, and now the legal system would provide him with an additional platform to continue seeking attention. German authorities confirmed that he would not fight extradition to Canada, allowing him to return to face charges more quickly than anticipated. Was this surprising decision just another part of his ongoing strategy to remain in the public spotlight? Who's to say? But it is interesting to note that cases like this one aren't publicized in Europe like they are in North America, and a lengthy legal battle in Germany would have received far less media attention. Canadian authorities quickly confirmed that they had sufficient evidence to pursue first-degree murder charges, along with additional counts related to the mailing of human remains and threats against government officials. The trial would, however, dredge up one of the most painful experiences in the lives of Junlin's family. As media coverage reached saturation levels, Junlin was increasingly left out of the story that had consumed international attention. News reports routinely referred to him simply as the victim or the murdered student, reducing his entire life to
murdered
his role as
student!
someone else's crime and not the human being
Ugh!
he was. Junlin was not just a body. Jun's story, his real story, is one of a kind, as all of our stories are. He was a 33-year-old student who had arrived in Montreal from Wuhan, China, to study computer science, with a life full of promise and loved ones back home who cherished him. He was a hopeful person who sought a better life abroad, embraced new experiences, and touched the lives of those around him with kindness. Those who knew Jun described him as gentle, positive, and genuine, a stark contrast to his killer. He was reliable and caring. His friends said if Jun planned to go out of town, he always let them know why so they wouldn't worry. taking the leap to make his home in a completely foreign country.
I can't remember. I can't remember in the documentary if they interviewed anybody that knew him. I'm sure they did. I just don't remember who it was specifically. I don't know if it was a family or a friend. You know what I mean? But they definitely did interview somebody that knew him, and I was like, low-key, like, damn, that sucks. You know what I mean? Like, oh my god, oh my god. And then, like, I guess, like, knowing more now, they're just like glorifying the fucking killer. It's like, holy shit, dude.
Taking the leap,
like, hello, the victims.
Foreign country.
Hello, the
Jun
fucking
was building
victim,
a
man.
future for himself, all on his own, juggling classes and part-time work at a convenience store while also squeezing in lessons to learn French, the dominant language in the area. Jun was also a gay man who hadn't yet come out to his family back home. Part of what drew him to Canada was its reputation for being more open and accepting it. He felt that he might be able to be himself there, away from the traditional pressures he faced in China.
That
His
fucking
ex-boyfriend
sucks,
later
dude.
tearfully recalled that Jun had a pet cat whom he adored like a child. When that detail came out, it hit the internet sleuths even harder. Of all things, he loved a cat. The same creatures that the killer had spent years torturing. Jun's life was so much more than the horrific way it ended. He was an only son, and his parents in China had pinned their hopes and dreams on him. In the trial that followed, Jun's father, Diran Lin, delivered an impact statement that was devastating. In his words, he described Jun in a litany of affectionate terms. His brave son, smart son, laughing son, caring son, adventurous son, handsome son, strong son, popular son. He was begging people to see his son as the person that he was, a beloved young man with many facets, someone full of life. In one statement, he summed up one of the greatest injustices in this story and so many others like it. I live each day with regret that his name will only be associated with a horrible, degrading crime. The media largely treated Jun as a footnote on a prop in the killer's story. In many articles, he was the Chinese student victim, mentioned in passing while they heaped on the details of the murder and the man who committed it. This happens repeatedly in our modern media cycle. But Jun, like all other innocent victims of murder, mattered. His humanity, his dreams, those are what truly deserve to be remembered. He had hoped to finish his degree and start a business in Canada one day. He had friends who cared about him and a whole life ahead of him. All of that was stolen in one heinous act of narcissism. When we talk about
I might be too chronically online, too sensitive. I might be a snowflake. I might be too woke. But I think watching this video now, I don't think I appreciate that corpse line. I think watching this video specifically, you know what I mean? I just don't appreciate it now anymore. Like, I'm like, oh, that song sucks now. It's like, it sucked before, but it was a bad song before. It was a cringy song before. But I think them painting it this way, right? It's like, oh, come on. You know what I mean? Like, well, this sucks. Yikes. It leaves a bitter taste. I never liked the song, but the line after it was a banger, though. Are we dead ass? Are we fucking dead ass? Fair. I just don't appreciate it now anymore. I just don't appreciate it. Seemed like a funny bar at first, and now I'm just like, oh, when you paint it like this, like watching this entire video, when you paint it like this, and when you like care more, you know what I mean? It's just like, It's like looking deeper into raps and learning a lot of the bars are real people that got killed. Yeah. Damn.
these kind of stories, we must be careful not to let monsters overshadow the humanity of their victims. And to their credit, Deanna and John, after everything, were acutely aware of this. In their online group, once the dust settled, they made a point to honor Jun. They shared photos of him smiling with friends, discussed his love of video games and his cat, and warned the man they never got to know but felt a connection to. In doing so, they tried to ensure that Junlin's memory would not be lost. The trial for Junlin's murder began in September 2014.
That's why I love Brew. He always focuses on the victims, makes us truly feel how horrible the crime truly was. I enjoyed that a lot, dude. I like this. I think I like this kind of form of... Would you say that this is like a documentary true crime? I genuinely do like this one.
Discussed his love of video games and his cat, and warned the man they never got to know, but felt a connection.
It leaves my heart like weak.
So,
my heart feels really weak listening. The entire, you know what I mean?
The trial for Junlin's murder began in September 2014, more than 2 years after it occurred. The killer pleaded not guilty to first-degree murder charges, despite the existence of video evidence of the crime recorded by him, setting up a hopeless legal defense that would do nothing but provide him with additional time to remain in the public spotlight. His defense team argued that he was not criminally responsible for his actions due to mental illness, a strategy that of course required extensive discussion of his psychological state and motivations. In December 2014, after deliberating for 8 days, the jury found the killer guilty of first-degree murder and 4 other charges related to Junlin's death and the mailing of body parts. The verdict was broadcast live across Canada and covered extensively by international media outlets, allowing the whole world to watch as he was sentenced to life in prison without possibility of parole for 25 years.
That's crazy.
The maximum penalty available under Canadian law. The story was over, but the legacy was just beginning. The crimes had inspired multiple documentaries, countless news articles, and extensive online discussions. Filmmakers and journalists approached Deanna and John, showing interest in telling the story from the perspective of those involved with the online manhunt.
Oh my god, it reminds me of that one, that episode in Black Mirror. Fuck, I don't remember the name, but it was the two, it was the two people, it was a couple, and they went to this dude's hometown. Fuck, what was the name? They went to his hometown, and he wanted to do a documentary on, I don't fucking know, I can't remember. He wanted to do a documentary on something, but his girlfriend insisted that he should do a documentary on the killing in the area and why nobody goes around anymore. And oh my god. And then the entire time, like, they did it, and I think what it was supposed to be was Netflix. I think they were supposed to be like Netflix. They took like the awards and shit, but it was like a documentary that was supposed to be like fixed on like the fuck. I can't remember, dude. I had to like look it up and describe it again.
Showing interest in telling the story from the perspective of those involved with the online manhunt. Initially, both of them had serious reservations. After all, a central question they had agonized over was whether any attention should be given to a killer like this. Would making a documentary just feed into the very problem they identified? Deanna especially felt conflicted. She had stepped away from internet sleuthing after 2012, horrified and exhausted by how things turned out.
Wow.
2 innocent men had died. The killer got what he wanted, and justice was not as satisfying as they had hoped. For years, she tried to get back to leading a normal life, focusing on her day job. But the story was not done with her yet. Netflix wanted to do a show about this whole saga. They claimed that they wanted to deliver a clear message to the world, promising Deanna and John that they would tell this story the right way. This was enough to convince them, and they agreed to participate. But as you'll see, whether or not that message was the right one to send is up for debate. In December 2019, Netflix released Don't F With Cats, Hunting an Internet Killer, a 3-part documentary series that brought the case back into international spotlight. The series was viewed by millions of people worldwide and became one of Netflix's most popular true crime offerings.
Okay,
Deanna
but
and John wanted to use the documentary to warn the world. First, they wanted people to truly understand how animal abuse can be a red flag for escalating violence,
Okay.
and to treat those early warning signs
There's gotta
seriously.
be a but.
Second, they wanted to spark a conversation about the dangers of internet sleuthing and the ethics of online vigilantism. Their story had become a cautionary tale with no clear, easy answers. They felt it was important for the public to see that whole picture, the good, the bad, and the morally gray of what they went through.
Okay.
But most of all, Deanna wanted to warn the audience about what they were doing, watching these documentaries. The documentary's final moments feature Deanna, on camera, breaking the fourth wall and addressing the viewers. She says, "Did we feed his narcissism to the point where he had to go forward? So much that he was pushed to do what he did? Did we feed the monster, or did we create it? And you at home watching a whole effing documentary about the killer, are you complicit? Perhaps it's time we turned off the machine." Now, that's a pretty bold meta moment to end the show on, basically calling the users out and forcing them to question their own morality for watching. But was it really a critique of true crime sensationalism, or was it, as many critics argued, hypocritical? As a whole, the 3-part Netflix series represented exactly the type of problematic glorifying media coverage that we highlighted earlier. Netflix showed clips of the killer's videos, gave the killer a significant amount of screen time, leaned heavily into his eccentric persona and celebrity status, largely ignored Junlin, and, in a surprising and kind of confusing twist, attempted to blame the audience for turning killers into celebrities, all while creating a
Wow. Whoa. Hello? Bitch, you uploaded it. All I did was click on it. What? I'm sorry. Oh, wow. Wow. Are we dead ass? Wow. You fucking uploaded it to your site. All I did was click on it, bro.
Show that did.
Fuck you, bitch! The fuck you put on your homepage? The minute I log in on Netflix, it's right there! What are you talking about? Hello? I'm itchy! I'm itchy again. Oh my god! Oh my god!
Largely ignored Jun-Lin and, in a surprising and kind of confusing twist, attempted to blame the audience for turning killers into celebrities.
That's
all while creating a show
crazy.
that
Oh
did
my
just
god,
that.
dude. I feel like
Now,
there's something
Deanna
inside
Thompson's
me.
final words in the Netflix series are not necessarily incorrect. Any production, whether it be news broadcast, documentaries, podcast, or YouTube videos, if it glorifies killers and their crimes, then it is part of the problem. But it's not the public's fault that almost every media outlet and content creator reports on these cases in potentially harmful ways. The blame should be on the producer of the content. Netflix made a fundamental error. The man at the center of the story wanted nothing more than to be infamous. In telling this story, they could have made a point, a conscious choice to refrain from describing his acts of violence in horrible detail, and incessantly speaking his name and showing his image. But they didn't. Instead, all they did was patronize their audience for watching.
Wow.
The only people that should have been talked about in detail are Jun-Lin, an innocent man whose life was cruelly ripped from him, Deanna Thompson and John Green, the determined sleuths who tried to stop a tragedy, whether misguided or not, and an innocent man who lost his life because of the community's need to get their target. Those are the stories that need to be told. Those are the stories that we can learn from. And as the too often forgotten campaign wisely puts it, no notoriety for notoriety seekers.
Yeah.
If you would like to show your appreciation to these people who made this video possible, please consider hitting the like button and subscribing to our channel. It's the best thing you can do to help us keep making more videos.
Wow. Sub. Holy shit. Wow. It was really good. I think I like this told more. You know what I mean? I like this told more than, wow, dude. Low-key, I didn't even realize that Netflix, like, literally was like, oh yeah, it's the audience fault for watching this, not us for making it.